next. An admissions row has erupted in Germany after a professor from Leipzig said she wouldn't accept a male student from India because of the country's rape problem. The biochemistry teacher wrote a rejection email, indeed, to the applicant, saying India's ubiquitous rape crimes demonstrate its society's attitude towards women. Well, the situation reached a point, indeed, where Germany's ambassador to India, Michael Steiner, rebuked the professor online. He posted his reply on Twitter saying he strongly objects to the decision, which he deems a discrimination and an offence to millions of Indians. The professor has since apologised for her email, saying it was taken out of context and that she just meant her lab was full. Either way, let's go to New Delhi now and talk to international affairs expert Dr. Sreeram Chaulia about the thoughts. And there's a big story about the perception of how males perceive women in India. It's been brewing for a long time, makes a lot of headlines in the West. Let's just focus on this particular case first of all, though. She's apologised now, but what do you think of the initial reasons that the professor gave for rejecting this applicant? Valid or not?
Absolutely not. I mean, she's clearly a prisoner of some kind of racial stereotyping. She's been, she's been caught out, I would say. And now, in hindsight, she's trying to justify her actions, which are hard to understand. But I think it's in poor taste, and it has, connotations of this orientalism, which has been a problem historically, where Western European countries and Central European countries have viewed the Asia especially as somehow exotic and different and more bestial and more inhumane than the so-called civilized societies of the West. So while we do have a problem of sexual violence in our own society, we are very strongly opposed to this, and there's a big movement for gender equality and equity within India. It's hard for us to digest this kind of finger pointing, which broad brushes the whole society.
Yeah,
and in fact, the statistics...
Not for a minute can you tar everyone with the same brush on this, but how big a problem is it? We do hear stories time and time again of women being mistreated by men in the country. I guess it goes on everywhere in the world, but it does particularly happen in India. How big a problem is it?
It is a problem. It is statistically a problem. It's a human problem, and we are all fighting for greater equality of the sexes at all levels, at the workplace and on the streets and in domestic homes. And I think there is a large progressive movement within India which is opposed to this. But what is hard for us is to be accused like this and from outside, when the fact is that if you look at the numbers, I mean, New York City per capita rapes are higher than per capita in Delhi. It's a large society, right? We are a large country, and therefore sometimes these numbers get blown out of proportion, and it somehow helps. As an academic, I often face these questions myself, where we have exchange agreements with European universities, and they say, female students are afraid to come to India, to your institution or to other institutions because of perception. So I think we've got to fight it at different levels, but prejudice is certainly not going to help us overcome this problem.
India is the world's third largest economy now. How is India going to help the PI here then? What's it going to do about it? Because, people, I guess you just talked there about women being afraid to come to your country. They're afraid for their personal safety. Is your country doing enough?
I think we are sizing up the problem now. We have come to grips with the, the extent of this crisis. Our Prime Minister has been speaking from, important pedestals that, equality is essential, and we need to overcome a lot of the patriarchal and male chauvinistic, attitudes that have held us back. Women's participation in the labor force is low.
Pipe dream, or is it going to happen?
And other kinds of problems which we need to tackle with a kind of broad-mindedness.
Just really briefly, pipe dream, or is that really going to happen?
I think it will happen, especially as women are empowered and involved in the workforce. And eventually, it will trickle down to the rest of society. But entrenched social attitudes and conservative values are still there, and we need to overcome them. But certainly, these kind of negative reports from Germany don't help the cause, because they simply, strengthen these elements that are out to create a so-called pure or atavistic notion of India as it used to be in the past. The point is, even in the past and even today, we should be according equal status to women in all spheres of life, especially in public places where their safety is a matter of concern to us.
Doctor, thanks ever so much for being on the line. Dr. Sreeram Chaulia there, international affairs expert on the line from New Delhi. Appreciate it.